You wake up and for one perfect second you forget they are gone. Then it hits you. A physical weight in your chest, so heavy your ribcage feels like it's collapsing. This isn't just sadness, it's a systems failure. You feel a literal ache in your heart, a hollowness in your stomach, and a heaviness in your limbs that makes getting out of bed feel like a physical impossibility. Logically, we know that an emotional loss shouldn't cause a physical wound. There is no external predator, no broken bone, and no visible infection. Yet the pain is as real as any injury you've ever sustained. Why would nature design a system that punishes you for a loss you can't control? From an energy standpoint, this crushing grief is a massive waste of resources. It leaves you vulnerable, distracted, and physically weakened. In the world of survival, this should be a bug that was deleted long ago. But it hasn't been, because your brain isn't being dramatic. It's running a high-stakes security schema that views a lost loved one as a missing piece of your own body. This is the biological reality of heartbreak. Welcome to Logic Schema. To understand why grief hurts physically, we have to look at the biological blueprint of how we stayed alive for nearly our entire history. For the vast majority of our time on this planet, humans were not rugged individuals. We were parts of a singular survival machine. In a world where ancient humans had no private life, your collective brain was your only shield against the world. You didn't just like your tribe. You were biologically tethered to them for every second of your existence. Your survival depended on a complex network of people who provided a constant logic of protection. One person was your early warning system for predators. Another was your primary source of high-calorie food. Another was the only reason your children survived in prehistory. Because the stakes were so high, your brain didn't categorize these people as extra or optional. It categorized them as essential hardware. The brain built a map of your own body, but it also built a map of your tribe. In this ancient logic schema, a partner or a parent wasn't just a person standing next to you. They were a functional appendage. Losing them wasn't a social inconvenience. It was the prehistoric equivalent of losing a limb or a vital organ. This is why the pain of grief isn't located in your thoughts. It's located in your chest. Your brain is firing a massive code-red alarm because it believes your survival hardware has been amputated. Imagine a prehistoric camp during one of those brutal winters. The sun is setting. The temperature is dropping into the negatives, and the only thing standing between you and a lethal freeze is the person sitting across from the fire. They are the one who knows how to keep the flame alive, who knows which natural resins to use to treat a winter infection. If that person suddenly vanishes, your brain doesn't just feel sad. It runs a resource audit and realizes that 50% of your survival capability has just vanished. It triggers a physical panic response, the same one it uses for a physical wound, because it wants to force you to find that resource or replace it immediately. This is where we see the phantom limb effect. When someone loses an arm or a leg, they often still feel it twitching long after it's gone. This happens because the brain's map hasn't updated yet. It still expects the limb to be there. Grief works exactly the same way. This is why you might catch yourself reaching for your phone to call them, or why you expect to see them walk through the door at their usual time. Your brain is still running the standard operating procedure that includes that person. When the input doesn't match the expectation, it creates a logic mismatch. This mismatch is what causes that sudden jarring spike of pain. It is the brain tripping over the hole where that person used to be. Every time you forget for a second and then remember, your brain is essentially re-injuring itself, trying to navigate a map that is no longer accurate. The physical symptoms of grief go far beyond a simple ache in the chest. They manifest as a suppressed immune system, a total loss of appetite, and chronic exhaustion. When you lose a primary member of your collective brain, your internal survival systems enter a state of maximum alert. Your body shuns all available energy away from luxury systems like digestion or long-term immune repair and dumps it into the survival network. You are in a state of chronic, low-level fight or flight. This is why you can't sleep. This is why your heart flutters. And this is why you feel that physical hollowness in your gut. Your brain is performing a massive resource audit, trying to figure out how to keep you alive without the protection that person provided. This was a vital safety overcorrection in prehistory. If you lost your hunting partner, you couldn't afford to be hungry or sleepy. You had to be hyper-aware and ready to fight alone. In the modern world, this system is a mismatch. We aren't fighting predators, but our hardware is still dumping cortisol into our blood as if a leopard is at the door, leading to the crushing physical fatigue we associate with long-term mourning. You've probably heard that time heals all wounds. But there is a specific biological reason for this. Time doesn't just pass. It rewrites the hardware. Your brain is a high-speed survival engine that eventually realizes it cannot continue to pay the storage costs of a map that doesn't work. Every time you have a ghost thought of the person you lost, your brain is burning metabolic energy on a circuit that provides zero survival return. Your internal security systems eventually see that the resource, the person you lost, is truly gone and is never coming back. It begins a slow, painful process of decommissioning the hardware. But what does this decommissioning actually look like in your daily life? It isn't a single moment of realization. It is 1,000 tiny, painful software updates. It's the moment you walk into a coffee shop, and for the first time in 5 years, you don't automatically order 2 drinks. For months, your brain has been running a cached script, an automatic program that assumes your partner is right behind you. When you catch yourself holding that second cup with no one to give it to, you are witnessing a hardware mismatch. Your brain has fired a signal down a well-worn path, only to hit a dead end. That jolt of pain you feel in the coffee shop is the brutal accountant inside your head marking that specific neural pathway for deletion. This is the process of synaptic pruning. Your brain is literally cutting the wires. It realized that the energy it spent anticipating that second coffee or the space it saved on the left side of the bed is now a wasted resource. In the ancient world, this might have been the first night an ancestor didn't automatically move their furs to make room for a partner who didn't return from a hunt. It's the moment they stop glancing at the entrance of the cave when they hear a twig snap, no longer expecting a specific face to appear. Their brain has finished its resource audit and accepted the new, harsher reality of a smaller tribe. Their brain has finally integrated the loss into its new security schema. The healing isn't an emotional choice, it's a biological necessity. Your brain is finally reallocating the energy it was wasting on a broken circuit, ensuring that you remain functional enough to survive. However, we are currently living in a massive evolutionary mismatch when it comes to how we handle this process. In the ancient world, grief was an intensely communal event. When a member of the tribe died, the entire collective brain felt the loss. You were surrounded by people who shared your map and who could physically and emotionally support the whole left behind. You weren't expected to get back to work or move on in isolation. Today, we often grieve in private, behind closed doors, or through digital screens. We've created a world of private lives that our prehistoric hardware was never designed to handle. This isolation tricks your brain into thinking the situation is even more dire than it is. Without the physical presence of the rest of the tribe to reassure your nervous system, your brain stays in that code red state longer than it should. The survival paradox of modern grief is that we are trying to heal a communal wound in a world of individuals. This isolation prevents the resource audit from finding new assets, leaving the brain stuck in a loop of biological bankruptcy. This mismatch is why modern grief feels so uniquely heavy. We are walking around with an ancient recognition engine that is screaming for the safety of the group while we sit alone in quiet rooms. This is why it's so important to realize that the physicality of your grief isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of how perfectly your hardware is working. Your brain is flagging the loss of a vital survival asset. It is a tribute to the logic of love that our ancestors developed to keep kids alive and sustain the tribe. You feel that pain because you were built to be part of a whole, and when that whole is broken, your body is the only thing honest enough to tell you the truth. When that weight hits your chest tomorrow morning, don't try to think your way out of it. Instead, listen to your internal system. Realize that your brain is performing a status audit on the most important resource you've ever had. You are currently in the middle of a massive hardware update, and while the installation is painful, it is the only way your brain knows how to keep you standing. You are the descendant of people who grieved, who felt that same rib-crushing weight, and who eventually rewrote their maps and kept walking. Subscribe to Logic Schema as we decode the human blueprint, one glitch at a time. The pain in your chest is a biological receipt for a love that was essential to your survival, a reminder that even if they are gone, they were once the very ground you stood on.